In Tombstone, the Clanton gang controlled saloons and supply routes while maintaining friendly relationships with merchants and even Sheriff Johnny Behan. These weren't the gun-slinging outlaws of legend. These were smart operators who understood that controlling business meant controlling everything. The system worked so well that most residents never suspected they were living under criminal rule, until Marshal Virgil Earp began investigating and violence finally erupted at the OK Corral. But Tombstone wasn't unique. Across the frontier, criminals discovered that real power lay not in dramatic shootouts, but in the quiet takeover of everyday businesses that kept entire towns running. Before we dive into these criminal enterprises, hit subscribe to never miss another exciting tale from the Wild West. Tombstone, Arizona. The discovery of silver in 1877 created the perfect conditions for criminal takeover. Within months, the population swelled from a few hundred to over 10,000, creating a chaotic boomtown where law enforcement couldn't keep pace with rapid growth. The Clanton cowboys recognized this opportunity immediately. Rather than operating as traditional outlaws, they systematically infiltrated Tombstone's legitimate businesses. Curly Bill established himself at the Gem Saloon, which became both a popular gathering place and a criminal headquarters. The cowboys didn't just drink there. They used it to coordinate cattle rustling operations and plan robberies across the territory. Their most sophisticated operation involved using inside knowledge of Wells Fargo shipments. On March 15, 1881, the cowboys ambushed a stagecoach at Drew's Station, demonstrating how their network had infiltrated transportation routes. John Kinney and his associates used similar tactics throughout the Arizona territory, establishing smuggling operations that appeared legitimate. They purchased ranches and supply stores, creating a web of businesses that served both legal customers and criminal enterprises. Within 2 years, the cowboys controlled significant portions of Tombstone's economy, while maintaining public perception as respected community members. The town's residents genuinely believed they were witnessing remarkable growth and development, not realizing their daily lives revolved around places that served a different purpose after dark. Al Swearengen's Gem Theater in Deadwood, South Dakota showed how saloons functioned as criminal headquarters. Every frontier town needed gathering places where miners could unwind after brutal shifts, and travelers could find hot meals and reliable information about trail conditions. Saloons filled this role, operating as community centers that provided entertainment and social clubs. Behind the saloon, Swearingen gathered intelligence from every conversation in this bar. Miners bragged about successful finds, and travelers shared details about unguarded routes through mountain passes. This intelligence flowed directly into criminal planning sessions. Gangs used saloons as neutral territory where everyone could negotiate without violence. The unwritten rules of saloon diplomacy prevented gunfights that would attract unwanted attention from authorities. These negotiations prevented potential turf wars. Recruitment happened by seeking out desperate, broke men. Bartenders found miners facing debts, drifters running from trouble, and merchants struggling with failed businesses. Criminal associates approached these individuals with offers of easy money, drawing them into activities that began with simple tasks like watching for law enforcement patrols. The saloon's upstairs rooms served multiple purposes, while maintaining the appearance of ordinary lodging for travelers. Wanted criminals hid in these rooms during sweeps, while stolen goods filled hidden compartments behind false walls. The saloon maintained its operations by bribing officials and leveraging political connections, demonstrating how saloon owners could influence local officials. But these operations required financial management to handle the constant flow of criminal proceeds. Gambling halls provided the perfect venues for money laundering operations that fooled authorities. These bars attracted miners who struck it rich and travelers seeking entertainment after weeks on dusty trails. Gambling halls offered poker and roulette in elegantly appointed rooms with crystal chandeliers and polished mahogany tables, creating an atmosphere of sophistication that elevated gambling from vice to social activity. In Deadwood, gambling operations at the Gem Theater served to launder stolen gold dust through rigged games run by operators like Slippery Sam and Johnny Burns. The financial stakes were enormous. After the Cowboys' Drew's Station ambush in March 1881, Wells Fargo Special Officer Bob Paul posted substantial bounties for the perpetrators, proving that criminal organizations needed sophisticated methods to clean their proceeds. Gambling halls functioned as recruitment centers, where criminal organizations identified potential operatives. Skilled card players demonstrated abilities useful for other criminal activities. Desperate losers facing mounting debts became prime candidates for criminal employment. Credit systems allowed criminals to invest laundered money into legitimate business ventures. Gambling halls financed general stores, hotels, and transportation companies, spreading criminal influence throughout local economies. However, the very success of these criminal empires created dangerous overconfidence that would soon prove their undoing. The Drew Station holdup on March 15, 1881, marked the beginning of the end for the Cowboys' criminal empire. This brazen stagecoach robbery provoked federal intervention that brought Wyatt and Virgil Earp into direct conflict with the organization, creating pressure that local corruption couldn't neutralize. Criminal success had created confidence among gang leaders who believed their businesses made them untouchable. Internal disputes began fracturing the cooperation that had made their empire possible. The November 1880 feud over stolen horses exemplified these growing tensions, leading to a deadly gunfight in the Animas Mountains that weakened the Cowboys' unity and exposed their operations to increased scrutiny. Marshals arrived with federal investigators carrying detailed files on suspected criminal operations across multiple states. Legitimate business owners, exhausted by years of extortion and intimidation, began secretly meeting with investigators to provide evidence of criminal activities. Store owners shared records of forced sales. Transportation companies documented threats against competing services, and hotel operators revealed information about suspicious guests and hidden contraband. The silver boom that created Tombstone's prosperity began slowing after the OK Corral feud, reducing the flow of money that fueled both legitimate businesses and criminal enterprises. Miners left for new strikes in other territories, diminishing the Cowboys' extortion revenue. Desperate criminal organizations abandoned subtle infiltration tactics for obvious extortion schemes that exposed their operations to public scrutiny. Paul's election fraud lawsuit against Sheriff Scheibel exposed corrupt alliances that had protected criminal operations, while frustrated citizens formed vigilante committees when official law enforcement seemed overwhelmed. These committees posted warnings, ordering known criminals to leave town within 48 hours, backed by armed patrols that made good on their threats. Former criminal associates turned informants to avoid prosecution, providing investigators with detailed information about business fronts, money laundering systems, and hidden assets. The combination of external pressure from law enforcement, internal betrayal among criminal factions, and economic decline created a cascade of failures that destroyed the criminal empire within months. Gang leaders fled to avoid arrest, while their business operations collapsed without criminal backing. These frontier tactics would resurface in modern America. Today's criminal organizations run restaurants, construction companies, and waste management businesses, just as frontier gangs controlled saloons and general stores. Understanding these historical patterns helps us recognize contemporary criminal infiltration in our own communities, revealing that organized crime's true innovation wasn't violence, but sophisticated business integration. What would it have taken to expose these criminal empires before bloodshed? Let me know in the comments which Wild West settlements collapse you find most surprising.